So, we put together a ChartGuard solution for our for clients, and it came about because a couple of our clients years ago had asked us, just that question: if I have a downtime situation, I don't want to add more hardware, I don't want to add more connectivity, have another backup site. I want to be able to have a solution that I can go to that enables me to continue to see my patients and continue on with my business while I'm trying to get back up and running. So we came up with ChartGuard. It is an affordable solution. It is one that ensures that the practice, the health center, can continue in a productive and a profitable manner, and be secure while we're having a downtime situation. And the solution that we came up with is be able to take the patient records and have them created as PDF files so that they can be easily read, easily accessible, and the providers and staff can continue to see the patients with the chart information while they are trying to get them back online. So how ChartGuard works, I'm going to turn it over to Joel Schultz, and he's going to talk about how ChartGuard works.
All right, great. Thank you, Tom, and thank you for attending today. When we created ChartGuard 7 years ago now, we sat down with some clients, and these clients lived in areas where they were prone to various outages from weather conditions, whether it be hurricanes coming in or storms or tornadoes or whatever. So they wanted something that would kind of give them the ability to see patients even though their technology infrastructure, some link in that complex chain, had failed. The most common one we see is the network, but again, it could be anywhere. It could be the database servers hung. It could be maybe there was an upgrade over the weekend that's running long into Monday morning, and the patients are starting to show up and you need that clinical information. It could be a variety of different things. So when we sat down and designed ChartGuard, we looked at the various options available about where the data should reside when the practice is having an outage. And the answer we kept coming back to is it really needs to be within the four walls of that location. Because if the database server's down or the network's down, you're not getting to the data. But the only way you can have some reason, some confidence you're going to get to that data is if it's already at the practice. Now, because your network's down or your data center's down, you need a way to access the data that's very straightforward when it's at the practice. So what we did with ChartGuard is we put all the complexity back in the engine in the data center that creates these PDF files that Tom just mentioned. And the PDF file, just think of it as a electronic representation of the paper charts we had several years ago. Okay, so it's going to have their history in there, and it's really just the relevant history that you need for a downtime situation, but it can have the full history. Most clients look for, some recent scope of history in those charts, those PDF files. And of course, you get one per patient, right? Just like a few years ago when we had paper charts, you had one folder per patient. So, that way you're not accidentally browsing too far into the next patient's information. So we're gonna go into your database. We're gonna look at the appointment schedule for the next several days. We're gonna look at where those appointments are gonna be located, and we're gonna look at the people that are coming. And from that, we're gonna determine which charts we're gonna create. Okay, so we're just creating a subset that's needed for that window. The engine's then going to go out and it's going to produce this paper chart. And this paper chart, if you think about the EHR, contains information from your modules and your documents, and it aggregates them into this one file that's easy to use. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that we need this to be technologically simple to use because the location that's having the outage just has bare minimums, right? They have electricity, they have some PCs up, but they may not have full access to the cloud. They may not have full access to a database somewhere with an alternate EHR system. So that was the reason early on in the design of this, we decided to use PDF files as the container for each chart. And the main reason for that is almost every computer out there today, every operating system out there today, every tablet out there today has a PDF reader available for it. So if we can get those out to the location, you can use those in a variety of different ways, including dumping them to paper as needed and putting them in a manila folder, just like we did a few years ago. So the engine looks at the appointment schedule, creates the PDF files based on the location of that appointment, copies those PDF files out to a designated network share at each of those locations overnight, and it's doing this for several days in advance worth of appointments. And then those are out there, so at 10 a.m., when a storm rolls through or the construction crew down the street cuts your network line, you have that information out there for the vast majority of your patients coming in already within the four walls of the practice. Okay, so you have that clinical information, you can use it on paper. If the network is up within those four walls, but not to the rest of the world, you could access those charts off that share electronically. So it gives you a variety of different options with what is a technologically simple solution to use when all the complexity has failed you. So that's kind of the gist of how ChartGuard works. Engine creates the charts, that happens overnight, and pushes them out to each of the locations to a designated network share. So it's, very straightforward in its architecture. All the complexity is in the engine's ability to render all that different information. So what actually ends up in the chart? Well, each night, each site is going to get their appointment listing because they want to know who's coming in and when. And especially if they're putting those to paper, they want to put them to paper, just kind of on demand as they need them. So that way they can, instead of printing the whole day's worth of charts, if the network comes back up halfway during the day, now you have extra PHI you didn't need sitting out there. So this way you can look at the appointment schedule and say, you know what, let's print these ones out and, just have someone kind of keeping up with people as they check in. So you're going to get a PDF file for each site. That's the appointment listing. And we'll take a look at that sample in a little bit. Inside the chart, as I was starting to mention earlier, you're going to get a patient data sheet. That's just, the basic demographics, patient name, address, who's the guarantor, what their insurance information is, good things like that that you need to know when the patient presents at the front desk. On the clinical side, you're going to get a whole host of information that the clinicians are going to need in order to talk to the patient back in the exam room. So it's things like allergies, immunizations, medications, problems, lab orders, vitals. So all that information that you see here on this slide gets packaged neatly into that PDF file for you to either print out or use electronically. And, we'll show you what that looks like in just a minute.
So here's a sample of what the appointment listing looks like. You see here that we have the location, we have the provider's name, the date of the appointment, the time of the appointment, and then who's coming in for that particular appointment and what they're coming in for. So this appointment listing is used by the front desk to obviously set everybody's expectations about who's coming in, and they can continue, the whole office can continue to see the patients that are scheduled to come in. This next PDF file I'm showing you now is going to be the chart itself. And this is what the chart looks like as Joe described. So you'll see here in the top of the chart is all the demographic information for the patient. So the patient's name, address, their insurances, both primary and secondary insurances are showing up there. And then as you can scroll down through the file, here is begin to see the data that shows up for that patient. So here's the allergies for the patient and what that looks like. You can go down to the next page, scroll down to the next page, and then you'll see the active medications for that individual. So the physicians and providers can take a look at the chart, and see all the information for that particular patient. Here's the labs and what they look like. Now, rather than scrolling through the information from top to bottom and from bottom to top, you can also, we've bookmarked the PDF file. So if you click on the bookmark, you can then quickly go to the section that you want to find. So if you wanted to look at the immunizations, you click on the bookmark for the immunizations and it takes you right there. If you wanted to go back up to the labs, you go back up to the labs and it brings you there. So the providers and staff have the ability to scroll through from top to bottom, or quickly use the bookmarks to get to the section that they want to take a look at that time. So here's a look at what the vitals look like. And then here's a look at, pathology report. So again, the amount of information that can be stored here is, we can create the depth. You can control the depth of the information. So you can control it by, you want to see all of the images for the past 6 months, or you just want to see the last 3 images. So you can control the depth that way. We also can include the account summary. So if the front desk has a patient come in and they have a balance on their account, they can take a look at the account summary and be able to still collect money based off of that as well. So that's what the appointment listing looks like, which, as Joe mentioned, each office location, each clinic location will get the appointment listing for their particular location. They will also get this is what the chart looks like for the patient, and these charts will be sent to the location that the person is going to present at. So as I mentioned, going back, you can pick the number of days, as Joe mentioned, you can pick the number of days to generate going forward. So you can look forward 3 days, 5 days, how many days forward you want to look. And then the depth of information that I mentioned, you can go back to, let me see the labs for the past 6 months, or let me see, just the last lab. The appointment listing can be customized as well. Sometimes you can add, some organizations want to see the phone number on the listing so that they can call patients as well. ChartGuard is the product that we just talked about. Then we have a ChartGuard on-demand version that allows you to create patient charts on request. So if a patient comes into your office and says, I would like to have my chart, you can go ahead and create that chart, put a request in to create that chart, and 15 minutes later, what happens is ChartGuard on demand wakes up and says, hey, do I have any requests for me? It looks out there and it does see your request. So then ChartGuard on demand goes off and creates the chart, generates the chart, so that you can either print it and give it to the patient if they're still waiting there, or you could take it and put it on a thumb drive and give it to them to walk out with. It's also very good for audit requests as well. So if you have somebody coming in to audit, and they want to take a look at a range of patient information, you can do the particular request with that range of information using ChartGuard. And then ChartGuard archivers used for long-term storage of charts, mainly used if an organization is going to migrate between EHR systems, or if a physician is leaving the practice and they so happen want to bring their patient information with them, it's ChartGuard iCarver is used to extract that information out.